the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, August 26th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, a podcast all about all aspects of home technology, home automation. So we've got a couple of stories come to us. Some streaming news, streaming oddities, I guess, that happened. We've got some fun projects to update you guys on and let you know the new things that we're working on here. But first up, we have to talk about the Game of Thrones. Gavin, you talked about this the last episode. Over the weekend, HBO releases Game of Thrones and, of course, crashes on Fire TVs. It looks like it crashed at a couple places, too. There's the service, what is it, Crackle? Or Crave, I guess. Couldn't handle the streaming as well.
And that blew me away because, in Canada, we have all the gigabits. We have fiber to everybody's home. I'm surprised that they weren't able to handle this. But and it wasn't Game of Thrones. It's House of the Dragon. It's the prequel to Game of Thrones. Really good. I was excited for this. Watched it live. I didn't have any interruptions, so I'm happy about that. But some people were messaging me. They were having issues. I just told them mine works. They didn't like that answer.
Not my problem.
They don't like that answer.
Yeah, it looks like Twitter in Canada everybody was freaking out about it. So yeah, you're right. It was mostly in Canada and mostly on, it seems, Crave and Fire TV sticks had a problem with it.
I think the main reason probably why this happened is no one really watches Crave anyway. So when they get something like this, they're not really ready for it. They've never had this many viewers. So that was expected.
Well, there's those HBO Max streaming problems you were talking about, Seth. I surprisingly missed out on that as well. I haven't watched the House of Dragons premiere yet. Been meaning to, but guess I'm glad I waited.
Yeah, I guess I'm waiting too because we don't have the HBO subscription right now, so I'll just wait till more episodes come out and people say that it's a good or bad thing to watch. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see. It definitely when you're watching first run episodes and they just put it up, there's always those bandwidth issues to the data centers that are hosting the files. And HBO's had this problem before. There's a couple of Tenet, Wonder Woman, The Matrix, Westworld, all had issues when they released them. Of course, the Game of Thrones, the final episode, everybody talks about that one as an example of like what a horrible experience because it was filmed, or it was a darker version, like darker. It's a dark show, but like it was actually darker. Like it was actually black screen most of the time, and different levels of gray appearing or something like that. So like people were like, when you get that compressed, and the stream has to downgrade, well, it just kind of folds back over to the next closest color, and if that's black, well, most of the screen is going to end up black. So compression's weird. Bandwidth issues are common, and maybe just skipping out on the traditional broadcast way of watching a show as it comes out. Maybe that's what we kind of need to get away from, I guess. Like, and just not worry about being able to talk about it around the water cooler the next day at the office. I don't know. Maybe that's never going to end, but neither will these technology issues that we have with streaming, because those aren't going away either.
Well, this might go away once the HBO Max app goes away next year.
That's true.
Or they'll just bring the same cruddy software to the new streaming service. We'll find out.
Well, I mean, how if one of the like the Woodland Hunter shows or on Discovery Plus premieres, I mean, do you notice any like blocky frames or?
Oh, there's no problems with those shows. Probably not the same amount of viewers, I would say, but none of the problems. So,
well, Discovery Plus is supposed to have a better platform and everything, and that's why they're moving over to it. At least that's what they say. There was a lot of better like reporting on that after a couple of days when people who follow the media stuff start looking into it and kind of picking apart what that they were actually saying to Wall Street in that financial statement versus what they actually say to the talent on the other end, like in their contracts. So, I'll try and dig up some info and put it in the show notes about all the HBO Max stuff. If you're interested in anything like that, there's a couple of good podcasts and everything you can go listen to that really cover that stuff in depth. And it's actually interesting, I guess, from a business perspective, but not from a technology perspective. I guess we just want to sit down at our entertainment TVs and watch TV, right? We want to see a good picture on the screen that we paid a lot of money for. And we pay, what, $20 a month for with ads. It's coming. Ads are coming. Anyway, guys, what do you say we jumped into a couple of HomeTech headlines we have this week?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, 6 undergrads from Duke think they've cracked the smart home interface. Fluid One is what they're calling it, and it uses a Raspberry Pi and Apple's U1 ultra wideband chip to pinpoint the location the user is in the home and what device they wish to be interacting with. Instead of using voice control or apps with multiple menus, motion sensors, or anything else, Fluid can control connected lights, locks, cameras, thermostats, and more in a couple ways here. They have point and click control and a location-based automations. So if they detect that you're in a room, they can trigger on some lights and that kind of thing because it has the ultra wideband precision pinpoint accuracy. You are in this room. This means that you want these lights to turn on. Or you can point your iPhone at a smart light and just say it'll turn it on. It turns your iPhone into a magic wand. Brighten, dim, change colors, turn the light on and off, flick your phone up or down to control the device. No more touching required, it says here in the article. Looks like this is gone. It's his own Kickstarter, so it's going to go for $249, which contains 4 of the nodes, the ultra wideband nodes that kind of get you that pinpoint accuracy, point and click ability. And additional tiers range from $499 to $749, which basically gets you more of those little nodes. And you can add a smart hub to provide the location-based automation capability as well. They are targeting, it looks like 2024 for general release. Of course, Kickstarter, so your mileage may vary on whether you actually ever see this. But I don't know, guys. What do you think? It's kind of a cool product. We've seen stuff like this many times before. It seems like, but this one seems like it could have some legs to it because it's using that ultra wideband chip. And I use those in my these things. Try and find them. The little air tag things that Apple has. It works really well. You can throw them in your luggage, throw them in a backpack. I have one in my wallet that's actually it's not an air tag, it's a credit card thing, but it's all using that ultra wideband thing. And if you lose your keys, I have lost them in the laundry hamper before, had no idea where they were, and I'm walking around the house with my phone, points to where you're supposed to go, and eventually you'll find them there at the bottom of the hamper under all the dirty clothes. Somehow they got there. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Is this a way that you're interested in controlling your house?
I wouldn't say this is how I want to control my house now, but I saw this and it's really impressive how it works. It's really impressive what it does. And I want to see where they take this technology or how they can incorporate it into other ways of doing the things, because it could tell what you're looking at. It could tell what you're pointed towards, that type of stuff. It would be nice to be in a room and I don't know if it was built into a pair of glasses or something like that. You just look at a device, you just say turn on, and it turns on, because it knows you're looking at that device. I don't know what they'll do with this in the future, but I was looking at the developer, the original guy that created this. There's the link to his YouTube video in the article where he created the prototype, and it was really impressive what he was doing. I mean, he's a software guy. He said he needed somebody to make the hardware, so that's when another company came along to do the hardware, and now he's just a technical advisor on that board. So I don't think they're going to lose any quality from what he's done. It's impressive. That's all I have to say. I want to see where they take this and what they do with it.
Yeah, pretty neat looking product. I mean, as soon as I open it, kind of like you, Gavin, it's something I could see, people using in the future to walk around and control their home automation stuff. I use Smart Things and Home Assistant at the moment. And I do find it annoying to open the app and then go find out the specific device I want to control. If I'm trying to turn an outside light on or the kitchen light on, something like that. So it would be nice if I could just point my phone at something and it just opened up and it, gave me the option to control that device fully. I don't know about the pricing, $249, $399 retail. And let's see, they're going to be Matter compatible as well. So I guess the pricing I don't think is too bad for what it is. But I assume at one point they're just going to get snapped up and somebody's going to buy them and roll them into their product.
Well, it is kind of pricey considering that these little tags are what, $30 a piece or something like that. I don't know. 4 for 100 is what you can get them for. So yeah, 25, 30.
Yeah, and you get four smart nodes for the retail of $399 or $249 for the early bird.
Yeah.
So is quite expensive for what it is, but it is a early rendition.
It would be nice. I mean, and it's just, software and everything. Like maybe somebody could figure out how to use these along with it. But maybe, the batteries do run down in these. So that may be kind of an annoying thing. And if the little node things have a bigger range or can, plug in, that would be nice too. So we'll have to see. Keep an eye on them. It's a Kickstarter. It may or may not ever exist, but there you go.
It doesn't look like a lot of people like the idea, though. It's only got $9,000 pledged out of $100,000, and it's been active for like a week or something. So,
I mean, this idea has been around many times. I was thinking about doing this with the Compass API in the iPhone and just being able to aim at like different TVs and a sports bar back, 10 years ago, maybe longer.
Wasn't there a remote that did this? There was a remote where you pointed at devices and it would change.
I have it back there.
What was the name of it again? 7 Hugs.
7 Hugs, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It had like little pucks just like this does. You could set in your room. I think they were Bluetooth, and you can aim and supposedly shoot at a light over there or whatever. I don't think I had that version. I just had the remote version, and it was a good remote. It was an okay remote, but yeah, the company discontinued that product and shoved it off to the side. It's unfortunate. It's kind of a neat remote, but no buttons. So that's problematic. Anyway. All right. Now moving on here. Since Samsung acquired SmartThings back in 2014, the team there has been working really hard to transition the entire platform over to Samsung property. Hardware, mobile apps, and now finally the development environment have all been kind of redone and brought up to date. I got an article, a real good article from friend of the show, Jimmy Hawkins, over there at the DMZ. He writes, Samsung aims to modernize the platform and combine all of its IoT offerings in one place for its over 62 million users. At the end of August 2022, the SmartThings team will start migrating services off its legacy Groovy language-based development environment, and it will stop functioning at all on September 30th, which he notes is just in time for Matter to start mattering. So we've heard about this for a long time. I think most I feel like most smart home or SmartThings users kind of know about this. Samsung has been really at the front of communicating this out for a very long time. But there's a lot of stuff going on. Gavin, I think you're probably I think maybe TJ too. Like you guys, I think TJ, you're using SmartThings, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So but is this going to affect you and what you're using SmartThings for?
No, I don't think so. So, I mean, I'm basically just doing basic automations with my SmartThings hub. And then it's all connected, with Zigbee and Z-Wave devices. So I'm not really tying in any other services or any other cloud products or anything like that. So I don't think this affects me. And it's mainly like older devices. Isn't that right, Gavin?
I wouldn't say older devices because some of the big integrations that they're looking at that could be broken are the MyQ to control the garage doors or the Logitech Harmony remotes, right? I think it's the people that aren't paying attention. A lot of people plug in their SmartThings, just hook it up. They don't pay attention to all the SmartThings news. So unless it's like right there in the app, when they open the app, they get a notification. I hope that they can see it. There's going to be a lot of people probably when they shut it down, just complaining that their MyQ or Harmony doesn't work anymore for whatever reason. Hopefully the message is getting out there right, and hopefully Harmony releases an update, because I know that's used by a lot of people, and especially MyQ, because anytime MyQ goes down, you hear a lot of people complaining about it.
I was about to say that's got to be pretty normal for MyQ users.
Yeah, ecobee and MyQ are in the runnings for most outages, I think.
Yeah,
pretty awful service MyQ is.
Yeah, I've worked with that ecobee API, and it was not designed very well for lots of users attacking it all at once. But
what drives me nuts about MyQ, it does one job. All you gotta do is open and close a door and tell me if it's open or closed. It's the basic thing, but they have the hardest time keeping that thing online.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard when you don't want to support integrations with your product, and people just have to hack their way into the system, and you have to deal with them overpulling your APIs all the time because you don't offer an efficient way to do it. Yeah. It's pretty much it. That's why it goes down. Well, best of luck to SmartThings users who are on the Groovy API and still using things like WebCore, Harmony integrations, like Gavin was saying, because that's going to kind of go away. What I thought was fascinating, Gavin, when we were talking about this before the show, is just that the Groovy part of this, like the Groovy code that you write and you put on your SmartThings system, that doesn't run on the little SmartThings controller in your house. That runs up in a service on the cloud. So Samsung's actually hosting all of that up in the air somewhere.
Yeah, you used to go into like a web interface into their IDE, and that was all hosted in the cloud, and that's where you put your code and everything, and it ran up there. I think parts of it later on transitioned to local. I can't remember, but when you had a bad app, you didn't feel it on your hub. The cloud had so much power for it that you never really felt it. Whereas when you transition to something like Habitat, where it ran all the Groovy code locally, if you had a bad app there, you felt it on the hub because the hub couldn't handle it, right? So that's what happened with Habitat in the early days when people were bringing over all the bad apps. You actually really saw which ones were bad and caused problems.
Right, because you're not running it on some massive server farm that has...
Exactly.
Yeah. So I can imagine why... I can totally understand why Amazon wants or Samsung wants to transition away from that infrastructure, because that is strikingly expensive for something. They don't have a pay per month subscription, do they? No?
Don't give them the idea.
Well, I mean, they're losing tons of money if they're executing user code. And I mean,
are you trying to convince them?
They're already looking into it.
They're already convinced that they need to move away from this and onto whatever their new platform is. So I guess it's SmartThings Edge and Rules API. So Edge is kind of what people... I got to give a shout out. Richard and Adam had a great show where they went over all the smart home vocabulary this last couple weeks. I don't know. I'll put it I just listened to it, and I'm usually behind on podcasts, so apologies if that was a long time ago, but they did an excellent job. Like, they went over all the terminology, even like the stuff that we just kind of like skim over here and talk about, like, the cloud, the edge, APIs, all that good stuff. I mean, there wasn't a stone untouched on that show. So I'd highly recommend it, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well this week. They did an excellent job of giving like a primer on smart home mumbo jumbo that we all just kind of take advantage of after having to deal with this stuff for decades, right? It's been a long time. So anyway, good luck to SmartThings. Good luck to SmartThings users, and I'm sure Habitat and Home Assistant are just rejoicing in all the new users they'll be getting, because it seems like a lot of people are kind of moving away after being kind of like burned a couple of times on the SmartThings thing. But I don't know. See, it is a pretty good ecosystem for a lot of people. 62 million is no joke. All right. Well, all the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes over there at HomeTech.fm/401. We got nothing in the mailbag this week, but we do have a couple of picks of the weeks. I have one. This melted my brain when a friend of mine sent this to me. And you guys have to look at this. This is insane. Some engineer has built a tiny computer inside of like a Lego block, and it has a screen inside the block, like an OLED screen. Like, he found these tiny OLED screens on like Alibaba, 72 by 40 pixel OLED screens. Put it in there, and he's using... I thought at first that this was like custom blocks and everything with little power strip things on it and whatnot. No, this thing has... These are like Lego bricks that are vintage from like the 90s, where Lego had some kind of like... they discontinued them, but they had like contacts on them, so they probably had lights or something. I don't remember that set that had the little electronic pins running through it, but evidently he runs everything off of a 48 megahertz ARM Cortex M0 processor and 16K of flash, and he's got Doom running on it, of course, because that's what you're supposed to do. Just insane. This is absolutely crazy to look at and realize like what you're looking at. And this guy is no like amateur, right? He is an engineer at the Weta workshop. So he knows what he's doing. But man, this is really, really cool. Looking at it, like set up, he has a few things set up there, and there's a picture in here of it like one of the little dashboards inside like a rocket ship or something, and there's a little screen in there moving around. It's really, really cool. This is totally interesting. I don't know. It's not home tech related, but I can't believe there's a computer in that block.
And the cool thing about that block is the top of it, they're actually buttons too.
Yeah.
So where you connect it, right, it's actually a button. So like the fun thing you could do with this is, like when you step on it, it laughs at you, like not only will you hurt your foot, but you'll have the Lego block laughing at you too, because it can detect it based on the button on the top, for example.
Yep.
The best picture on all of this is the money shot towards the very bottom. I would say 3/4 the way down. It's the little Lego with the Raspberry Pi microcontroller and a USB port, and it's just like perfectly fit up in there. And it's so crazy to see it there.
It blows my mind that actually fits. Everything fits in there. Like, yeah, you almost have to have a macro lens on your camera to take a picture of it. It's just, wow. Okay, I get it. Things are small.
And one of the original things that says in the article is that he was thinking about using it for a mechanical keyboard and putting it in the caps. And I'm just going to say I would love to have a couple of those if anybody's listening. So
that'd be kind of cool. You could, they already have those keyboards. You can rearrange the keys. They already have OLED.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I use right now. It's a Glorious mechanical keyboard. Glorious, I don't know. But you can switch out the different key switches and keycaps and everything. So they're pretty nice.
Yep. Well, I don't know if we have to keep an eye on this, but I will. This is amazing. Like if they start selling these computer Lego things, I'm in game. Imagine playing Doom on that.
That costs so much money.
Yeah. Oh man, they just got to make them in bulk. Well, speaking of sensors to detect if you've stepped on something, Gavin, you actually found something pretty cool while looking, I guess, online on some forums. You ran across a little company that makes some LoRa devices. And did you get one and plug it in?
Yep. So I grabbed one. This is basically like I was constantly looking out for a replacement for my pool temperature sensor because my current sensor, I'm running on an old Fibaro switch with an external sensor and it could die any day. They don't sell it anymore. I can't get anymore. So I'm constantly keeping an eye out. And somebody mentioned YoLink. So I looked it up and they make LoRa devices. For those that aren't familiar, long range communication, they can go up to 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers in Canada, or up to 10 miles if you're, in more rural areas with less things to go through. So after doing all the research and everything, I had to buy the sensor. I had to buy their little hub. I got it within a day or two. I put it in the pool because it's sitting in the skimmer below the concrete deck, right? The hub I have in my basement at the front of my house. So they're the two furthest things on my property, right? And it has no problems communicating. It's amazing how strong the signal is through everything it's got to go through. The concrete, the water, all the walls, and even interference because I just put it in my rack. I didn't even position it any certain way. I just put it behind the monitor. And this is great. So this is my first jump into LoRa devices, and they're known for long distance. They're known for great battery life, and I am impressed. Now, the only downside to this setup, and I'm okay with this for this use, was that it's all cloud-based, right? So this hub is all cloud-based. So I integrated it with my Habitat. It has an open published API, which is great, but it's all cloud-based. But I'm okay with that for this usage because if, the cloud's down, I don't care. The temperature of my pool isn't the most important thing at that point, right? I can survive at that point. But they sell a ton of devices you can hook up to it. A lot of them I probably wouldn't use because it's cloud-based, but it's amazing. Like LoRa, I have to keep an eye on this LoRa space just to see for these kind of far away devices.
Yeah, that's really neat. You say far away, your pool's not 10 kilometers away, but
no, but it's the number of things the signal has to go through. So like I said, it's below the concrete, so it's going through all the concrete. It's going through water because it's all the way on the back of my property, so it's got to go through all that water. Then it goes through the concrete and the brick of the home, plus all the interference from other signals to my rack, which is at the front end of my house. So that alone, before my previous sensor was a Z-Wave, and that one just suffered to get from the skimmer to the first repeater. right? This thing has no problems communicating. It's great. It works well.
Are all the? I mean, I'm looking through. They have a bunch of stuff. They have garage door like integration things. They have shade controls, lighting controls. Is every bit of it LoRa, or do they mix things up here? I guess it is.
Yeah, it's all LoRa based. And like I said, their API, basically, if you're a developer, their API, you can either pull or they have callbacks, for certain devices. It's pretty easy. Like
just like Ecobee, it won't go down.
Yeah, it won't go down. But like I said, like I wouldn't tie certain things into this. But for my pool temperature, I'm fine. If it were to go down and I didn't get the temperature for a few hours, I'm okay with that. I'll just dip my toe in and do it the old school way.
It'd be nice if they did have some kind of local or edge version of their processor that you could pull locally or have work locally, even and have like it bridge out and go remote, because the reason they're doing it by the cloud is because you can use an app or something and you can go outside of your house and be able to check the temperature of your pool, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they also want to gather the information. You know what, if a company wants to gather the information of my pool, I'm fine with that, right? Just give me a local control over it. So when it's down, you can buffer all the temperatures if you want and upload it later. I don't mind if you get that information. Just give me a local control. So when things are down, it still works. And I'll be happy with that.
Pretty cool product. Good find.
Yep. So I'm going to all my forums and all those posts about people asking for pool temperature monitoring stuff, because you'd be surprised how many there are. I'm going to be posting links to this, and hopefully it helps other people as well.
Do you think you'll be checking out any of their other devices, Gavin?
Probably not. I was looking through their other devices. I may buy more temperature sensors because a number of people, they use the temperature sensors inside fridges or freezers, right? So they'll monitor the temperature, and if it starts to drop, they know there's something wrong with their fridge or their freezer, right? Because some of them have like a deep freeze in the garage and it's full of meat, and they want to make sure they know, like, if anything goes wrong with it. These would be perfect devices for that, just because the signal will get through that.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about putting it in like a freezer or something, but it's totally a legit use.
Yeah, they even have like sump pump detectors and that kind of thing. There's one product I have to update a driver for. I didn't write the original driver, but they gave me the code and said, please update this to be modern. And I did, but I'm trying to remember the name of Aqua Link or something. Aquatel. I don't remember. Aqua something. Really neat product. It's like you would put on a water tank or a septic tank or something. You basically drill a hole in the top, and it uses radio to determine the level, like radio waves, to determine the level of the water inside. And you can set a high-low alarm and all that good stuff. It works off of some kind of low frequency thing too, like this. And a lot of farmers use it for, cow watering tanks or something, and they need it for that. It's used a lot in rural areas, I guess. But this would be a pretty cool, or not a replacement, but like a similar product, as long as you had internet at wherever the hub or the head end was going to be.
Hey, you just gave me another idea, actually, with that. I could use the water sensor to, keep an eye on the level of my pool. And if it drops between a certain amount, I can have my irrigation system turn on and fill it, right? Like there's a number of things like that would be just, oh man, next project. When I saw this, I was thinking of James, because he had a project he was working on where he had a device that was like, 100 feet away or something like that on a little island.
Yep.
That he was trying to solve a problem of what can he put out there.
It's a doorbell. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So when I saw LoRa, I didn't even think of LoRa at that time because I didn't know if devices were out there. But now that there are, he's giving Zigbee a try. But I mentioned the LoRa devices to him, so maybe there's something he can rig to get that solved.
Yeah, it would definitely work. Either one would probably work. He wasn't going terribly far. Zigbee has a decent range most of the time, and you can put repeaters in it. Well, I guess it's over water. You can't, but
yeah,
most of the time. It's a straight shot. It'll still reach somehow, and even if it has some low signal. But this would definitely be a much better way to go, because they have a lot of like outdoor rated products through here. They've got all sorts of. They even have a sprinkler controller. This looks like a little. I don't know, man. I think you found something here. I'm gonna have to play with this. There's a thermostat.
I just wish it wasn't all cloud based. That's my only gripe. I wish it was local. They had a local API. So.
Yep.
I'll send them some feedback. You know what? I'm going to send them some feedback, because I was impressed. I have to admit, I'm impressed by the product, and I'm going to send them some feedback.
Yeah. Smoke and gas sensors, smoke alarms, all sorts of good stuff in here that leak detectors, all sorts of good stuff. So yeah, a really complete catalog that I'm scrolling through because I couldn't make heads or tails of their website. But their catalog seems to be pretty good, and they've got just about everything in here that you would think, like I've seen for both in Wi-Fi and Zigbee devices. Like they even have the valve shut-off kits, motorized water shut-off, even just a motorized shut-off like inline valve as well. So they definitely have a lot going on for them. Based in Irvine, California. Cool find. Very neat. All right, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the weeks, or long range devices you know about for Gavin, just give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@hometech.fm, or you can visit hometech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, guys, that wraps up another week. Moving along here, we've got a couple of project updates. Gavin, we've been working on the deep state. What's all this? You've gotten rid of the deep state. You've gone somewhere else.
Yeah, so as part of my Blue Iris, I was using DeepStack as the AI for it to detect humans, vehicles, etc., etc. But Blue Iris announced that they're moving away from that, and they were working with a new project to handle all that. It used to be called Sense AI, but now it's called Code Project AI. And this week or last week, they finally released a version of it with GPU support. So you can offload all the processing of the AI stuff to your GPU. So I decided to finally jump in. So I jumped in, replaced all my cameras, DeepStack with this. So now it runs it all through this, and I am impressed. The speed difference is significant. Whereas before I was getting 200 milliseconds or more per detection or processing or whatever that is, it's now down to 50 milliseconds, right?
Wow.
So
wow,
it's like as soon as that skunk crosses my backyard, it picks it up right away and lets me know it's out there. And this is significant for me because on my backyard cameras, I have it watching that if an animal is out there, it will turn on all the lights back there. And I mainly do that because I have a little dog that we let out. And if there's an animal back there, I don't want him going out. We got a lot of raccoons back there. There's a fox that likes to go. We have a skunk back there. So as soon as it detects this, it turns on the lights back there, and it's much faster, better response, worth the upgrade. They're constantly adding new features, and they're very responsive. So if you play with Blue Iris, take a look at the Code Project AI integration.
I had to tinker with the one that I installed, and you helped me out with the understanding what to do with the deep state. And I've got it hooked up to PTZ cameras, and it's really interesting because on Blue Iris, they've done something that I think that more camera systems should do. And that's give you the ability to like go back in time, watch an old video, but test the current motion settings on that old video. So if something happened, you can almost recreate that situation that it missed or it didn't happen. And the next time it happens, you'd be able to do it again. And one of the things that happened I thought was really funny was I had that on with the AI overlays turned on, so it kind of like does the square box and tells you what it thinks it sees, and it's like picking up a car, a person, and then it goes potted plant, and I'm like, wait, what? Why is that a thing it's finding? But yeah, potted plant. Evidently, the deep stack is seeing that in one of the videos, and one was a lawn chair. It's all lawn chair. Tag that. I'm like, that's impressive.
Well, the Code Project's they're simplifying a lot of that because most people just want to know, is it a vehicle, person, or animal, right? So then you can act upon which one it is. So they actually simplified a lot of that. So you'll probably like it too.
Yeah. Well, probably
no more potted plants.
I'm not going to touch it, but I probably will just let that ride because it seems to be doing a pretty good job of picking out people and animals. There was actually a situation it's an older client of mine. Like I said, I upgraded his camera system to this Blue Iris thing, and don't think I'll ever do that again. But it's such a pain of a project to get through. But now that it's all working and everything, he called me up the other day and he said, I want this PTZ camera to rotate around if it detects a person walking through the driveway. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And I go in and look, I'm like, okay, now I need to go find somebody walking through the driveway. which is super easy because it's tagged as like an event. It has a little person icon. You can just go through the history. You can find it real quick. But the first one I found was like 2 a.m. that morning. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. There's somebody walking around at 2 a.m. Perfect. I'll just click on that. It's at night. I can, get it to spin around like it's supposed to. And I'm like, this guy doesn't look familiar. It's not the client that I'm talking to. So like I sent him a text like, you know who this guy is? Because he's walking around your house at like 2 a.m. And that led to like just police reports being filed and all sorts of craziness. So, but he's totally glad that I randomly saw that person in there. And there's it's very interesting. Like this is left up to them to self-monitor, right? This is not like it's not being reported up to a service or anything like that. So it's up to the client to like wake up every day and go check the blue wire. It's pretty easy. You just scroll, you just open it up, and it has 24 hours worth of history of everybody that has been caught on camera, so to speak, and every car that's come in. But it's just one of those like habit things that nobody really does. And if I hadn't have dialed in, like that history would have been bumped back the next. I would not have looked at it. Like I would not have seen the guy. So it's just fortuitous that I had seen him, and he's locked down his house a lot more. One of his kids had ordered some food like from Uber Eats, and they had opened the gate and pressed the button to like leave the gate open all the time. And this guy just walked right in after that. So
if you're ordering food at 2 a.m. in the morning, there's only one. No,
it was before. Yeah, it was before that. But he just left the gate open and never checked to make sure that he had closed it. So it was interesting because I was able to track him like on the cameras at night, all the way from the walking in the gate, going back and looking at what he wanted to steal, and then coming back out. So it was really interesting. But yeah, definitely eye opening. And the client was out of town, so it was just like it was his wife and kid there, and they were freaked out. Of course, I would be the same way if somebody was just rummaging through my yard at night, and it's just my wife and child at home. So yeah, I don't blame them. But man, what a crazy just happenstance that I just happened to be looking at, fixing a PTZ issue that morning and happened to notice that the first record at 2:00 in the morning was this stranger wandering through the front yard. So, I got a project, and TJ's really helping out here too. He's really adding to it. We're announcing a pretty big project here at HomeTech, and we joked about this last week. We're doing it now, and
the largest undertaking in HomeTech history.
Yeah, this is going to be what we're known for, I think. And so we're launching the PpBDb, and that's the price per button database.
PpBDb.
And if you go to PpBD.com, yeah, you can see the spreadsheet that we started to work on. Now there's not very many items there, so that it's early days. There's only 2 items there. Let's just be fair. But if you go to PpBD.com, PpBDb.com, yeah, there we go. See, I can edit this and sound like I say it every single time, but you'll be able to see, a device, how many buttons it has, the price, the retail price, and then of course the price per button. And hopefully in the future we'll be able to make this, I'm pretty sure, where we can sort it and filter it and make it look nice and give you guys an idea of what the best price per button device out there is. Because it's really important, I think. I think we've really identified a metric that hits home for a lot of people who like buttons and want to know how much their price per button is on a device before they go out and spend a lot of money on a device that may not even, like TJ, you were telling me your iPhone, what was it, $350 a button, something like that?
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous how expensive some of these devices get, And I think it's important, that we set some ground rules for this immediately, right? So a button consists of anything that you can toggle or press. You have to physically be able to do these actions. So something like a power toggle on like a power strip counts as a button. If it's a physical button that just turns a light on or turns it off, something like that, or activates something, that's a button. If it's some kind of sensor, like a temperature sensor or capacitive, touch button, that kind of thing, does not count as a button.
Not a button.
So, and the great thing about this metric is that we can apply this to anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gavin has that sweet Akara smart curtain driver, whatever that thing is called behind him. What's the price per button on that thing, Gavin? Well, how many buttons?
It's only got one button. It was about $110 per button,
See?
right?
I mean,
so
it's expensive.
That's ridiculous.
Well, we got to make sure we're clear here. This is US prices because I'm looking at my Microsoft mouse. My Microsoft mouse has a PPB of about $13.75, so we got to make sure that this is US because sometimes we look at your prices, we get excited, and then it just hits us that it's US.
You know what? I think we could probably do like some mathematical lookup and conversion. This is the internet. We have computers and stuff, and right now we're starting simple. We're starting in a spreadsheet on Google Docs. But I think we could break this out one day as popularity gains and people start, really using this as a reference for their smart home. We can just like sort by protocol, but we could also say this is not your mouse the mouse is not a smart home device. If we're going to lay out rules, we're not going to use a mouse.
It could be though, Seth. I mean, what happens if I turn on my smart home lights with my mouse and that's its only job?
No,
Bluetooth.
No, not a general. It has to be a smart home device light switch, smart home device. Yeah, we'll get all these rules. We're going to have another tab for rules, I think. We'll have to do that.
Okay, and how are we going to take submissions? Just send feedback at HomeTech.fm, or hit us up in the Slack?
we need to know everybody's devices, right? So we need to know what the product is. I think we need to track model numbers too, just because model numbers are like the definite way to find out a product. We're going to have price on there. We're going to have buttons. Then we're going to have a breakdown for price per button. And then a protocol. So, Zigbee, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, all that good stuff. I'm not sure what else we would need.
Yeah. So you want to find out per protocol who's doing the best price per button, I think is what you were looking at.
Yeah. I mean, especially when we're going into Matter, we're going to have all these new Matter buttons and the price is going to go up. So maybe the Wi-Fi is the reigning protocol.
Well, who knows? Wi-Fi you can use in Matter too, so I don't know how we're going to distinguish that because Matter is just going to confuse things. I'm convinced of it. I'm absolutely convinced.
We'll just leave it off. Nobody cares about it.
It's going to crash our PpBDb.
Yeah, we may just leave that out altogether and just use the underlying technologies and say this is what it's using. It may communicate, but it's Matter compatible, but who cares? Like it's just a setup protocol.
Nobody cares about it.
I think this is going to be popular. I really do. And we've got the website domain for it again, PpB.com. So we're going to make it happen. And this is going to be fun. And, all these suggestions, maybe by the end of the week before this is published, we'll have a submission form and everything. Like if you want to add your ideas in or add your own device, we can put that in there and just, make sure that gets put into the database. And we'll figure out how to help you out, Gavin, with the Canadian prices. I know those can be kind of tough. Maybe we just add like 30% or something. Maybe 50,
yeah, I'm good
50%.
with that. I'm good with that.
There's got to be a formula for going back and forth between like American freedom dollars and Canadian dollars.
It changes like daily though. That's the only problem, like you guys get a new president and all of a sudden our dollar tanks or something like that.
Hey, this is the internet. We can update it real time.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an API. There's an API for money. I'm pretty sure there's an API for money. That's probably
definitely.
It was the first API they came up with. It's like, how can we convert dollars? That's important. That's more important than turning on and off my lights or my thermostat. So they came up with an API for money. And then shortly after that, there was an API for sports. Like, how do I know that my sports bets are good? And then they were like, well, I need a ticker. I need an API for that. And then they were like, maybe I should be able to turn on and off my thermostat. And they were like, let's not make a good API for it. Let's make one that crashes and give it to them. Anyway, this is going to be fun. I can't wait to get this up and going. We're going to make something of it. And this is going to be a big push. I think people are going to realize what the price per button metric is going to be for the smart home. So I'm excited.
This is how CE Pro is going to tell integrators to price out a smart home.
Exactly. Yeah. Price per button.
I mean, how many buttons do you need per room?
Exactly. If you build a home and you have like keypads and buttons all over the place, I think you should add all those up and divide it by the cost of your home. And that way you'd know what the price per button for your house would be, right? That would make sense to me. I mean, it's a good metric. They do square feet. Who cares about square feet? I don't. I mean, that just causes problems. You have more square feet, you're going to have to have a bigger air conditioner. You're going to have more vacuum cleaner power.
Going to need more buttons.
Yeah, you'll need more buttons. Yeah, it could be. Maybe you'll have a lot of buttons in a small amount of square feet. I think that's pretty good too. But again, divide by the price. The price is what matters. So
as long as they reference the PpBDb, that's good.
everybody thought touchscreens and voice assistants were the future. Buttons are the future.
Buttons are the future. That should be the slogan behind this. Buttons are the future. All right. This is a project we're just starting. So you're in at the ground. You listener are in at the ground floor of this and this exciting time that we're all sharing with you now. So head on over to PpBDb.com and check it out. I think we'll put, maybe by Friday we'll have 7 devices in there loaded in, so we can get moving on this. But yeah, check it out. All right, that's all I got. Anything else, guys?
PpBDb.
Yes, Gavin was sharing some Buck Rogers video with us, and we'll probably just insert that in the show somewhere. So
that'd be a good place.
Yeah, I mean, it could just replace the bump music that we have. Anyway, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know how to check out our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. And you can learn how to support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Each pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out here on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and everyone can get in there and talk about price per buttons. I mean, that's clearly what we're going to be talking about, I think, for the next.
That's all we're going to be talking about this
I'm going to rename it The Hub. I'm just going to call it The Button.
Anybody that talks about not buttons is getting banned. Instant ban. Straight to BAM.
If you want to help out the show but can't support it financially, no problem. We totally understand. We just appreciate a 5-star review or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. That's going to wrap up another week here on Home Tech. From everyone here, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
Take care.
It's nice to have at least one friend. I'm sorry, Tweaky. 2 friends.